We live in a society where illegal activity is increasing, despite many governments taking significant measures to reduce it. Many people enter the forbidden world because it offers numerous advantages. Human trafficking, drug trafficking, arms trafficking, and other various industries generate substantial income for such individuals. In today's video, we are going to go over the world's richest criminals that got away with it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number 10. Frank Lucas, $52 million. Frank Lucas was a former American opium distributor and organized crime boss who died in 2019 with a net worth of $500,000. Even though Lucas was already a living legend before the launch of American Gangster, the Hollywood movie revealed his life story to millions of filmgoers worldwide. The film, however, may not be an accurate portrayal of his autobiography and criminal achievements. During the Vietnam War, he was particularly well known for supplying Thai heroin in the United States. Despite Hollywood filmmakers romanticizing his life, Frank had a terrible effect on low-income societies as he flooded them with drugs. Frank Lucas died on May 30, 2019 in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. He was 88 years old and had spent his final years confined to a wheelchair. Number 9. Nicky Barnes, $105 million. Nicky Barnes is a former terrorist and government informant from the United States. Many people have stunned the world by dealing illegal products. Nicky made a record $105 million from opium trading. He was formerly identified as Mr. Untouchable because cops couldn't locate him for a long time. He began using heroin at an early age but quickly discovered the many advantages of actually selling it to consumers. He possesses vast wealth, much of which is unknown to the public. In the 2007 film American Gangster, Cuba Gooding Jr. played Nicky. Number 8. Zhenli Ye Gon, $300 million. Zhenli Ye Gon is a Chinese-Mexican entrepreneur investigated for smuggling pseudoephedrine or ephedrine chemical products into Mexico from Asia. He owns and represents Unimed PharmChem Mexico, as well as several other Mexican companies. The Mexican government legally approved Unimed to import hundreds of metric tons of pseudoephedrine and ephedrine substances into Mexico as part of its large import-export business from 2002 to 2004. Pseudoephedrine and ephedrine drugs were commonly used in over-the-counter prescription drugs such as Sudafed at the time, but they could also be used among methamphetamine manufacturers. He is accused of being a Sinaloa cartel member, which Ye Gon, who has no prior criminal record, denies. He became a Mexican citizen in 2002 and was known as a successful business owner in Mexico until the allegations of corruption emerged. Number 7. Al Capone, $1.3 billion. As of today, his wealth is projected to be the US $1.3 billion. Al Capone, known as Scarface, was an American gangster and businessman who rose to prominence during the Prohibition period. As the co-founder and leader of the Chicago outfit, his 7-year tenure as a crime lord came to an end when he was sentenced to jail at 33. Capone's earnings from various facets of his businesses by 1929 would include $60 million from illicit alcohol, $25 million from gambling enterprises, $10 million from crime, and another $10 million from numerous other scams. Capone is said to have employed over 600 gang members to defend his company from rival gangs. Number 6. Griselda Blanco, $2 billion. Griselda Blanco was a renowned drug trafficker who amassed a net worth of $2 billion over her lifespan while living. She rose to prominence and influence in the 1980s as the Black Widow, or La Madrina, selling cocaine for the Medellin cartel and creating special undergarments to enable cartel members to smuggle cocaine across the border. Blanco was a primarily cocaine dealer in the nation throughout the 1970s and 80s. She was also reportedly responsible for at least 200 deaths of men, women, and children, making her one of the most ruthless crime bosses of all time, though the number could be as high as 2,000. Many of her targets were drug dealers, but others were entirely uninvolved spectators. Griselda worked very closely with Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar, a childhood friend, and was dubbed the Black Widow since all three of her husbands were killed. After decades of running her evil empire, Griselda was apprehended and convicted to 20 years in 1985. She was released early and returned to Colombia on a technicality, and she was assassinated at the age of 69 in 2012. Number 5. Viktor Bout, $6 billion. Bout was found guilty of conspiring to assassinate U.S. officials and assisting the terrorist group FARC. He was also charged with wire fraud and money laundering, which analysts believe contributed to his billion-dollar wealth. Bout was convicted to a minimum of 25 years in prison in 2012. The Second United States Court of Appeals in New York dismissed his claim. Bout retained former U.S. Attorney General John Ashcroft to defend him in a new trial to reverse his indictment in 2014. Bout dared then-President Donald Trump to pardon him as recently as 2016.
Number 4.
Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar, $6.7 billion. Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar, India's number 1 adversary, is ranked 4th. Dawood, son of a Mumbai police constable, was involved in petty crime in his youth. He was involved in a series of gang wars in Mumbai, India, in which many of his rivals and his own men were killed. He rose to become the undisputed ruler of Mumbai's underworld. He left India to claim asylum in Pakistan after being wanted by the police for several crimes. From Pakistan and the Middle East, he began to monitor the crime scene. Even during India-Pakistan cricket matches, he could be seen in the VIP stands in Sharjah. His weaknesses were cricket and Bollywood female film stars. This son of a respectable police constable is the most prosperous gangster alive, with a net worth of $6.7 billion. I used the phrase, richest gangster alive, on purpose in Dawood Ibrahim's context, since there were only 2 other gangsters on the wealthiest gangster list who have met their end. Number 3. Semion Mogilvech, $10 billion. Semion Mogilvech, a Russian Jewish organized crime boss identified by European Union and U.S. authorities as to the boss of bosses of most Russian mafia crime gangs worldwide. Mogilvech is thought to be the leader of a massive criminal organization and has been dubbed the most powerful mobster in the world by the FBI. The FBI has charged him with arms trafficking, contract killings, kidnapping, cocaine trafficking, and international prostitution. In the 1980s, Mogilvech oppressed his people by looting millions of dollars from Jewish citizens fleeing Russia for asylum in Israel and the United States. Mogilvech was mentioned on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list in 2009. The $100,000 reward for information leading to his capture remains in effect. He was later excluded from the list because he lives in a country where the U.S. does not have an extradition treaty. Mogilvech is also on Interpol's list of Europe's most wanted. Unlike the majority of people on the index, the FBI knows precisely where Mogilvech is, his wife, Katalin Pap, and they have 3 children together. He now lives freely in Moscow. Number 2. Amado Carrillo Fuentes, $25 billion. Amado Carrillo Fuentes was a wealthy Mexican drug lord with a net worth of $25 billion. It's not shocking, given his riches, that Fuentes was and is still regarded as one of the most influential drug lords of all time. He was known for using cutting-edge technology in his criminal activities, especially airplanes, to transport large amounts of cocaine. Amado Carrillo Fuentes died in 1997 as a result of a failed plastic surgery procedure. Amado Carrillo Fuentes gradually grew so powerful and prominent that he posed a serious threat to Mexico's government. DEA agents and Mexican anti-drug units were already targeting him at the time. He traveled from country to country, seeking to find refuge in places like Cuba and Russia. As a last option, he decided to undergo extensive plastic surgery to rebuild his face entirely. While he had hoped that this operation would allow him to start a new life with a new identity, it failed. Everything went wrong during the surgery, and Fuentes died amid the surgeon's best efforts. Number 1. Pablo Emilio Escobar, $30 billion. Pablo Escobar is at the very top of the list. The Lord of Cocaine is widely regarded as one of the most notorious criminals of all time. In reality, when Escobar turned 35, he was already one of the wealthiest men in the world thanks to his drug-dealing business with the United States, with a heavy emphasis on the 1980s. However, it is difficult to know the volume of narcotics sold and the total value of money earned until today. Many assume Escobar was responsible for bringing approximately 80% of cocaine into the United States at the time, with the Colombian, a resident of Medellin, earning roughly $420 million per week from the company. It is unknown how much of Escobar's wealth he amassed during his lifetime. Pablo Escobar, who has already abandoned film and television characters, died at 44 after an epic police chase. He'd been convicted to 60 years in prison just 16 months before. So there you have it. If you enjoyed today's content, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new videos. Until next time.